When you declare your own custom methods in your Java code, you can declare them with arguments, parameters or values that they can receive, and these methods can return values as well. I'm starting in a version of my calculator application that's in a project called Methods with Args. This application already has a custom method that I've previously used in other exercises. The name of the method is getInput. It's designed to receive a single argument, a string, with a name of prompt, and it's designed to return a string as well. All of the complex code is encapsulated within the method. So when I call the method, all I need to do is pass the name and a value that I want to display on the screen, the prompt. Now you can create your own custom methods incredibly easily in Eclipse. Let's say that you have some custom code, and it's either 3 lines or 10 lines or 100 lines of code, and you want to take that code out of the main method and make it its own custom method. Eclipse calls this extracting a method, and here's how you do it. I'm going to take these 3 lines of code. I'm declaring 2 double values that are being parsed from strings, and then I'm adding the 2 values together. I'd like to take this bit of code and make it its own method. So I'll select those 3 lines of code, and then I'll right-click in the selected area. I'll choose Refactor, Extract Method. Eclipse asks for the new method name. I'll call it Add 2 Values. Notice the parameters are set as strings, that's correct, and also Eclipse is smart enough to know that if my final statement is doing a calculation, then I'm probably going to want to return that value from the method. So it says, I'm going to return a double value. I'll click OK, and Eclipse refactors the code for me. The new code is a single line that says create a double value named result, which is calculated by calling the new add 2 values method, and it's passing in the 2 strings. And here's the new method. It's declared as private, static, and double. Because it's private and static, it can be called from within the main method, and because it declares double as the return type, it knows that it's going to return that calculated value. Here's all of the code that I extracted, and here's the code that returns the result. The keyword return means here's the value that I'm returning from this method, and the data that you pass back must match the data type that you declare here. I'll save my changes and run the application. I'm asked for my values, and I'll type in 5 and 10, and I get back 15. So I know that the code is working. It's also possible to declare methods that receive variable numbers of arguments, as long as all those arguments are of the same data type. Here's an example. I'll move down to the bottom of the application and I'll create a new private static method, and I'm going to set the return data type as double, just as before. I'm going to call this method, though, add multiple values. I'll start with no arguments, but then I'm going to place the cursor inside the parentheses, and I'm going to tell Java you can accept any number of arguments as long as they're all doubles. That is, as long as they're all numeric primitives that can be translated as double. Here's the syntax. Double, space, dot, 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 space, and then the variable name. The data type works as it does for all arguments, but the dot, dot, dot means treat this value as an array. Right now I'm seeing a little bit of error information, and that's because I haven't returned a value yet. So now I just need to fill in the implementation of the method. I'll expand the editor so we can see more of the code. And within the method, I'm going to start by declaring a double value of result and set it as 0D, meaning the double version of 0. Now I'm going to loop through those values. Because of the dot 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 in the middle of the declaration, values is passed in as an array. And I'll loop through using a for loop. I'll type for, press Control space, and I'll use a for each loop. Eclipse tells me it's going to create a new double value named D each time through the loop, and this is the collection or array it's looping through, values. Within the loop, I'll add the value to the result using the plus equals operator. Result plus equals D. And finally, after the loop, I'll return the result. So there's my completed method accepting variable numbers of double values. I'll go back to the top to the main method, and I'm going to add a little bit of code down here. I'll say double result of multiple equals add multiple, and I'll pass in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I can pass in as many values as I want, as long as they can all be easily converted into double values. Then I'll output the result saying the answer for multiple values is, and then the answer. I'll run the application. I still have to go through the inputs for the original calculation. But then I get the answer from the multiple values also. Now it just so happens that I got back the same values, so let's try running the application again. This time I'll add 5 and 5 together, and I get back 10 for the first answer, but 15 for the second, because that's the result of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So this is how you declare your own methods with arguments. Java requires arguments to be declared. If you haven't declared them, you can't pass them in, and if you do declare them, you have to pass them in. It's very strict. But you do have the option of using the variable argument syntax to allow yourself to pass in multiple arguments as long as they all follow the same data type.